Hello everybody! Today we're going to be looking at our papers in a different light. We're going to look beyond the theme and hopefully you'll come out of this with some new ways to look at your papers and how to use them with your photos. Now today I am going to be scrapbooking these photos of my sister and her family's Hawaii vacation. And when I first pulled out these photos, my mind first went to this Cape Cod collection from close to my heart because it has such a beautiful beachy feeling. Of course, they are in Hawaii, tropical beach. Like I was thinking, okay, I'm going to use Cape Cod. But when I started looking beyond the theme and looking at the colors, we have this pretty flower with the pinks and the yellows and even that deep orange or red in there. We've got some red in here, but some brighter blues and greens. We have kind of a blue-green here, and then more yellow and orange and a lot of white in their shirts. So I started thinking, well, what if I pull out this Memory Lane collection? So I pulled out just the papers that I thought would work with these colors, and look at how beautiful this looks. Now when you look at the sticker sheet, that gives you kind of a glimpse at what the theme of that collection is. But if I don't use the stickers and I'm just looking at these papers, I think that they're going to work really well. Now the only thing we're missing is blue. We've got like some sage green in here, the pinks and peaches and oranges and yellows, and so that all works. But I think that this is going to allow us to bring in some blues that I want to bring in the acrylic shapes. So I think even though there's no blues in the paper, I'll still be able to bring these in because we have blue in the photos, and the photos are really going to pop off of these lighter colors. Now I'm still not totally sure. I might be bringing in some of this Cape Cod collection, like this driftwood pattern could still work and give us a little bit of that beachy feeling. So I can definitely bring that in. I can bring in the anchors. That works with our color palette and helps to bring in that beach theme. And then the stickers, I think some of them can work. We've got sunshine and sea, relax and enjoy, although they're not really at the beach. They're at the pool here. These are pictures of them at the hotel. So I might be able to pull some of these in, but I can also pull some of these in, like loving this, enjoying life, this is the best, life adventures. Even though a lot of this doesn't work for these pictures, some of it can. So I think I'm going to be mixing and matching some of those. And then we have all the Cape Cod embellishments that are craft, and those are going to go nicely. So we've got the blue, and there's other blue acrylic pieces, and then the craft, and there's also white that come in the Cape Cod collection. So we've got those, and then these ones are actually die cuts from the Cape Cod card making stamp and die set. There's all of these amazing shells and sea pieces that we can color in any color that we want. So this is one from another project that I inked up in a little bit of turquoise with some stickles, adds a really, really cool touch. And then these tags are from another project too that I stamped with this palm frond. And so it gives it that beachy tropical vibe. So we can use all of this paper that's not necessarily a beach theme and bring in the whole theme with our embellishments. I'm really excited to get started, so let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, this is where I'm at right now, and I actually am using a sketch from the creative design team's 8.5 by 11 sketchbook. Now this album that I'm doing for my sister and her family is 8.5 by 11 size, which is working out perfectly for their vacation. So I am using this sketch right here, and I have already cut my strips on the top and bottom according to the sketch. And then I'm going to have my title and everything here like the left side. And then the right side, instead of having this photo orientation or arrangement, I'm going to have like a grid style layout with some journaling here. I could move this up here, but I wanted to break up the two people pictures and white shirt pictures and have it so they're kind of at a diagonal. And then this kind of breaking that up so everything is, you know, kind of broken up. And then she is looking that way, so I have her on this side. And then this one I'll move down a little bit, and then I'm going to have the title here. Now I have played with this a little bit, and this is what I've come up with. I first tried this anchor paper. These are the zip strips from Cape Cod. I thought it needed a little bit of a transition piece right here, even though that's not called for in the sketch. And I really liked how that looked. So I had it on, I'll just lay this on top. I had it on both sides and I really like how that looked. But then I wanted to bring in some of this somewhere in the layout, and I didn't like these together because this is like the full strength toffee and this is kind of toned down and it's really not even quite the same color. So then I thought, well, what if I use this as my little strips? So I brought that in and I did like that too. And then I thought, well, what if I use my little palm tree stamp right here that we saw in that Cape Cod card making stamp set and added some detail there. So I just tried the ends in case I didn't like it. I did like it and I tried a few colors, but then I started thinking, you know what? I think I would like the contrast of that as my mats, and I don't like them as the mats and as my strips right here. So let's go back to the drawing board here. Now I think I already did add just a 1/16 of an inch white border on these, and then I'm going to do a bigger mat around these, and I'll do it on this too. So leaving that here, I then thought, well, what about yellow? So I brought in some honey butter. So this is the light side, this is the dark side. Close to my heart's cardstock is two-sided, so there is a full strength and then a lighter shade of the color on each side. And that's okay, but then I thought one more color I wanted to try was papaya. And I actually have it on the light side. So this is the lighter version of papaya. This is the regular strength. And I think I'm liking this the best. Maybe that's just because I'm not a big yellow person, so I didn't want to bring that out. You can definitely go with the yellow. I think that that looked good too, but I like this and how it sort of plays off the red in this picture right here, even though it's not the exact color. Now I did do this on just a white base because since my photos, or this photo in particular, is not the exact same colors as this paper, I wanted it to have the white background and have some distance between that. And then this is actually the back of that one pattern I showed you. I liked how this side showed all the different colors, and I cut it so that the stripes are vertical so that you can see all of those colors. And so I'm gonna go ahead actually, and I think I'm gonna cut a bigger strip so that I can tear this. I think I'm gonna like that torn look. And then I will just kind of tuck it behind here and have the torn paper there.
I cut some 3/4 inch pieces and I'm tearing the right side away from me because I don't want the white core to show. So if you tear it toward you, you'll have the white core. Away from you, you won't. So I'm going to cut those down to 8.5 inches wide, and then I'm going to do the little stamping treatment to it that I was exploring off camera, stamping the palm fronds. This is such a great background stamp that you can use in so many ways. I tested it first on the scrap that I had cut off from the length, and I tried first generation and second generation. I decided I wanted a more subtle look with the second generation, so I'm just stamping it off onto the scrap paper and then onto my strip. And I'll do that to both strips. I have my foam under me, under my piece that came with a stamp set, and that helps to give you a good cushy surface to get the best stamped impression. You can also use the back of your Versamat, which I will show later in this video. And there is our finished piece. So I've got them all done. I decided to add some at the top too, and I did a little bit skinnier strip at the top, just like I have a little bit skinnier piece of patterned paper. So I actually used those other 1/2 inch strips that I had originally cut. So nothing went to waste. And I taped those patterned paper strips on just at the bottom so that there was a little bit of space to tuck those torn strips under. I cut myself a journaling square and matted it in that same Papaya cardstock, and that'll give me a spot for journaling as well as some embellishment placement. And I'm going to do some stamping here, so now I've turned over my Versamat so that I can use that cushy surface that's on the back. If I'm doing quite a bit of stamping, I like to use the back of the Versamat. If it's just a little bit, then the little foam squares that come with the stamps will suffice. So I've got a couple of stamp sets here. This is the Dream Maker stamp set, which is no longer available, but I know a lot of people got it, so hopefully this will give you more ideas for it. I thought that these flowers reminded me of the flower that my niece is holding in the photo. And then the Palm Fronds stamp set has matching dies, and I decided to stamp a couple of the palm fronds in avocado ink because there is some bright green in some of the photos, and I thought that it would blend well enough. Even though I have sage green in the paper, we do have it in the photos, so I'm hoping that it will work. So I'm going to stamp a couple of extras just in case I need them down the road. Since I've got them out, I may or may not use them on this layout, but I'm sure I can use them somewhere. So we'll get all of those stamped, and this does soak into the paper and dry back quite a bit. So I'm going to die cut those, and you can see how much lighter they are now. I think that's going to blend well enough and bring out the bright green and not conflict with the sage green. So now on these other pieces, these are just scraps that were cut off from when I cut those strips. It's the back side of the striped paper. I'm going to stamp these plumeria flowers, or at least that's what I think they are. And I'm using Archival black ink. I do prefer Archival black because it is the most vivid dark black. It is waterproof. If you were going to use any kind of water treatment on it, it's not safe for coloring with alcohol markers. So you want to use the intense black for alcohol markers, but I'm not going to be using those today. These stamps unfortunately don't have matching dies, but with the magic of film editing, they are now all cut out and ready to go on my page. So let's just get those all off of my mat so I can flip it back over. Now, if you wanted to, you can adhere a couple of the corners of your layout to your Versamat so it doesn't move around. Sometimes I do that. It just happens that I didn't this time. Now, going into this layout, I thought I was going to use this summer title and cut out each of the letters just like I did in a video a couple of videos ago. But when I put it there, I thought that it just conflicted with the aloha in the photo. And then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to let aloha be the title, and I can, just use embellishments and maybe use some of the word stickers over there as well. But I don't think that it really needs a title. I usually do have a title on my layouts, but since this is part of a bigger vacation layout, I decided, you know what, I don't want one this time. So I'm going to move on to my favorite part, which is the embellishing. Here are those fun acrylic pieces in the blue, and I'm going to put one of those in each of my embellishment clusters. Now, I've talked about this many times before. It is visually appealing if you create a visual triangle on your layout. So that's what I've got here with my embellishment clusters. I have 3 main clusters, and they are all going to be built using the same colors and types of embellishments, which helps draw your eye around the page. So I'm starting with I started with the craft pieces, and then some of the blue acrylic pieces, and then these are those die cuts that are from that stamp and die set, and I'm just placing them for placement right now, but I'm going to be doing some color and that stickles treatment to them later, which I will show you. But I'm making sure that I have at least one of those in each of my clusters as well. So I've got all of those down, and now I want to add a few of the little birds. I spotted these little birds, and they were really fun to add in one of my previous layouts for this Hawaii album too. And so I have those little, I guess they're supposed to be seagulls flying around. And just like I do with everything, I'll fuss with them until they have the perfect placement, and they may move around a little bit more as I add more embellishments. So I'm going to add these leaves now. Now I knew that I was going to be using that palm tree because I had it already in my stash. It was a Cricut cut that I had from making cards left over. And so that's the third point of my green. It's not the exact same color green, but I think it's close enough. And now I want to bring in these flowers that I stamped and cut out to my clusters. So this big one I think is a little too big for this cluster here. So let's try it with a smaller one. I decided I didn't like the green flowers, so I'll save those for another project. I'm just going to use the kind of yellow and orange flowers and figure out where I want all of those. And I like the little pop of color that they add around the page. I'm not liking that second small one there though. So let's move on over here. Just kind of tuck them here and there. Now, typically when I build embellishment clusters, I will start with the largest pieces first, which would be the big flowers, but I changed it up a little bit in this case. I think because they are not the star of the cluster, I wanted the more like the leaves and the little, sand dollars and shells and those kind of things to be the star of the show, and make sure I liked the placement of those. And then these are just kind of easy to tuck here and there and everywhere. Flowers are such an easy embellishment to work with and can be an afterthought, and it worked well in this case. So I was thinking I wanted more flowers down here, but I don't like the two big ones right next to each other here. But I do want the more yellow one on the right, and then the more orange one on the left, because it would be right over those yellow stripes. I didn't want the yellow right over the yellow stripes. So we have the kind of orange over the yellow stripes, and we'll get all of these pieces back in place. Again, fussing forever because that's just what I do, but I love, love, love this part of the scrapbooking process. I love playing with little embellishments. It's like a puzzle. I love puzzles too. Do you guys like puzzles? This is like a puzzle to me. Like find the piece that fits in this spot perfectly. If you're finding this video helpful, then please give it a thumbs up so that YouTube knows and can share it with more people. And consider subscribing so that you don't miss any of my videos. I post 2 scrapbooking videos every week in hopes to inspire you to get your own scrapbooking done. Now, I mostly share 12 by 12 layouts. However, I've been working on some 8.5 by 11 projects like this one for my sister and her family, and my own vacation scrapbook album. I have found that I'm loving this size for vacations. It's just kind of fun and something different. And if you do 8.5 by 11 layouts or are interested in them, then that sketchbook that I was using is available as a digital download, and I have it linked down in the description below, along with all of the supplies that I'm using today. Now it's time to color all of those little die cut shells, and I'm doing a very unexpected color here. I'm doing pink because I thought that the clusters needed a little pink, and you know what? It's my layout and I can do whatever color shells I want, right? So think outside the box and don't think that you have to make your seashells and sand dollars in a color that you think they might be. Have fun with it and do it in a color that will look good with your layout, and maybe a color that's missing from your clusters. That's the beauty of using die cuts and stamps, is that you can make your embellishments whatever color you want. You don't have to rely on pre-designed stickers or ephemera and all that kind of stuff. To add the stickles on, I just squirted a little on my all-purpose mat and I'm dabbing it on with my finger. This was a genius idea I got from Crafty Concepts with Erin. I will link to her video down below. I love it so much. I can't not do it when I use these dies now. It's just so great. It looks like sand and adds sparkle, and it's perfect. This is the point in the layout where I take a picture and have it next to me on my computer so I can refer to it as I deconstruct it and put it back together, basically. And I wanted to show you this T-square ruler from close to my heart. It's fairly new, not super new, but new to me. I waited a while to get it, but I am ready to show you now because I've really been liking it. I was using my little, cheapo T-square ruler from the store for a while and thinking, I don't need the big long one, but you know what? This one is super sturdy and longer, so it goes all the way across the Versamat. It's 14 inches. The only thing that's a little weird about it, I think it's kind of a design flaw, is that when you have it like this so that it hooks onto the edge of the Versamat, the ruler is upside down. So you can still see through it and you can still see the numbers. They're just upside down. It's just kind of weird. I'm not sure why, but otherwise I think that it's a really, really great ruler. So I wanted to show it now that I recommend it. I was thinking I might want to stamp a sun up in the corner of that journaling box. I have a couple of stamp sets with a little sun, and I'm stamping it onto a scrap paper first, seasoning it on my hand since I haven't used it, stamping it in honey butter on my scrap paper, and I was thinking of stamping it right there. But I thought, you know what? I don't like it with the vibe of the rest of the layout. The rest of the layout is kind of like, I don't know, a little more elegant, and that sun is kind of cutesy, so I decided not to use it. So I'll continue adhering my embellishments on that little pocket card. And I wanted to show you this just to show you what I do now that I have everything where I want it and how I'm going to glue it down. I usually start with the piece that's on the bottom. So I adhered the palm trees first, and then that pink shell, and then the flower, and now these pieces are on top, and I'll add those with a little bit of liquid glue. The Barely Art glue dries clear, so you don't see it through the acrylic shapes when it's all dry. Then I started thinking, you know what? I know that my sister is not going to do a bunch of journaling. Plus, there's not a whole lot to say about this page of them at the hotel. If she wants to add journaling, she can do it over on the bottom left side of the layout. But all of these word stickers that were between those two sticker sheets, I thought, you know what? I can add a few of those to the journaling box so it kind of forms the journaling for her. And I like the way that that looks and thought it was a fun use of those word stickers. So obviously I adhered all of those pieces on the left page off camera, and then I added some twine on the tag. And here's a close-up look at everything. I have still shots over on Instagram and Facebook. The links are down below. And I also want to show you the original sketch so you can just get an idea of the similarities and the differences. So let's go ahead and bring that in. So I kept the bottom and top strips, and the left page is very similar, but I just veered a little bit on the right page, and I made it my own, and that's the beauty of sketches. Now you're definitely going to want to check out the 12 by 12 layout I made with this same collection. So click on this video that's on screen right now, and I'll see you over there. Have a great day.